Hello, my name is Ava Trenum, and today in this TED Talk, I'm going to be telling you about the cruel side to shark finning and why we must take action to create and enforce regulations to protect our beloved sharks. I plan to talk about three things, which include the issues with current regulations surrounding shark finning, what could happen if we don't bring about some positive change, as well as how we can bring about the much needed change. First, I'll take some time to familiarize you with what shark finning actually is and the heartbreaking side that is typically brushed under the rug. Shark finning is when fishermen hunt for sharks in hopes of obtaining the fins for various things, but most commonly shark fin soup. Once the shark has been caught and brought aboard the boat, the fishermen will slice off the fins and throw the still alive shark carcass back into the ocean, where it will either painfully and slowly bleed out or suffocate to death. You may find yourself cringing at this information, and you wouldn't be the only one doing so. That's because this is a gruesome and harsh reality that is unknown to the majority of people. Not only is this extremely painful for the shark and an immoral form of hunting, but it's also extremely wasteful when you consider how much of the shark is being thrown back into the ocean compared to the small portion that is being kept. Many countries' hunting regulations require hunters to use as much of the carcass as possible to prevent this waste, and while there is a specific fin to carcass ratio regulation on shark finning, it is unfortunately not enforced in most places and therefore not followed by most fishermen. After interviewing Carol Brewster, the manager of the U.S. Atlantic shark fisheries, I learned that fishermen are supposed to abide by the fin naturally attached rule, which means sharks that remain on board must have their fin at least partially attached to their carcass. This rule was created to help regulate shark waste, but again, it is unfortunately not enforced or isn't even put in place in many countries, so this waste still does occur. Currently, there are 10 species of sharks that are in danger of going extinct. This includes whale sharks, great white sharks, white-tip sharks, scalloped hammerhead sharks, and more. This may not seem like a huge deal until you realize the critical role sharks play in maintaining marine life ecosystems, and consider what could happen if their populations continue to plummet. According to Oceans Research News, fish populations would explode out of control. This is because sharks are apex predators and play a huge part in regulating fish populations. This huge increase in fish population would lead to mass shortages of food and other marine resources. As plankton, algae, and other food sources die off, the fish will eventually follow suit, ultimately leading to a collapse of the entire marine ecosystem. Researchers have claimed that if the marine ecosystem began to collapse, the food supply for some 3 billion humans could vanish altogether, creating an obvious problem. Because of all of this, laws and restrictions need to be put in place and better enforced by countries to prevent carcass waste and to protect the shark populations. Some countries, mainly out west, have created regulations, but as I said earlier, they don't enforce them, so they just get dismissed, or fishermen will find loopholes and work around the regulations. What good does it do to create these regulations if they aren't being enforced and followed? This is why it's important for us to take a stance and fight for what's right, and use our voices to help bring about better change to our world. There are many ways we as a nation can work together to make these necessary improvements. I strongly encourage you to speak up about this issue. One of the best ways to spread information is by sharing it through social media. You can make or reshare posts with helpful information and petitions created to pass regulations, and inspire others to join as well. You can also contact your own public officials with written letters and emails encouraging them to take action as well. You can donate to organizations like Shark Stewards, a nonprofit dedicated to saving sharks and ocean habitat, and has already saved millions of sharks by introducing shark fin trade bans, regulating fisheries, and supporting marine protected areas. And there are many other organizations just like this one that you can find online. To wrap things up, I will briefly summarize what I have just talked about with you. We started off talking about the gruesome details of shark finning that most people are unaware of. We talked about the consequences we will eventually face if shark populations continue to fall. And lastly, we talked about what we can do together to create and better enforce regulations to protect our sharks. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my stance on this issue. I hope it was enlightening and encourages you to go out and be the change you want to see in the world.